everybody. Welcome back to the realm. This is going to be a very, very short review session. We're going to talk about some key tips and some key things to expect for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So just to get you a little bit ready for the exam. Of course, you want to be studying throughout the weekend, but today's session will be very short, probably less than 20 minutes, maybe more like 10 or 15. And then tomorrow night, we'll have a much longer session where I can answer all of your questions. So wanted to get some key particulars out to you tonight, now that I've got everything finalized. First off, we'll talk a little bit about some timeline tips. One other thing I'll say about the timeline is really that for the first time in world history for me in the midterm exam, there will not be a timeline. I have taken the timeline off of the test, so you don't have to worry about it from this point on. It seemed to be something that you'd have to study a great deal for, so you can kind of take that away from your stress list, and you won't have to worry about it. That is not going to be on the exam any longer. So all you have to really focus on now going to be your multiple choice matching true and false, your short answer, and then your categorization. So we'll have those 10 points out of the way. That won't be that big of a deal for me to take that right off, and that will help you in your preparation for not only this class, but hopefully for your other classes as well. Okay, so some short answer possibilities, some giveaways here. Obviously, this is going to be recorded, so if you're live, you're going to have a jump start on preparing for some of these things. But if not, no big deal. It will be recorded and it'll post right away. But one of the things I would like to make sure that you understand, I'm going to give you 7 possibilities, and of those 7, 5 will legit be on the exam. The first one is going to be, of course, the definition of civilization, defining and explaining civilization. So when you think about that, you really need to know the ins and outs of the 5 characteristics of civilization. So you want to remember advanced cities, right? Advanced technology, specialized workers, okay? So on and so forth. There's a couple more. I'm going to let you do the research on those. I'm not really trying to give you everything tonight, just trying to give you some key clues as to how to guide your studies. Now, of course, if you don't remember something, tomorrow, I got you covered. Number 2, you really want to be able to define cultural diffusion. And I think it would be a point of advice to think about cultural diffusion as a definition, but how could this turn into an essay, right? Be able to provide examples historically that we've learned about. We've talked about it almost every single day in our class. But also think about modern times, like how does cultural diffusion still happen in our world today? Number 3, the rise and fall of civilizations. Oftentimes when we get into chapters, we talk about how a civilization came to power, and then the same day or maybe the next day or a section later, that civilization goes out of power. What are some common themes that cause the rise to power and also the decline? In chapter 16, we looked at the Aztec, the Inca, and the Maya, and we talked about their rise and their fall all within one section of detail. So I think it would be rather pertinent to take a look into that ideology there and get yourself ready to answer in an essay or possibly in a paragraph response some of the common themes that led to the rise and fall of civilizations. And when we talk about civilizations, we're talking about major civilizations. Think Sumer, Egypt, Greece, Rome, all the way up to chapter 16 with the Aztec, the Inca, and the Maya. You want to think about, across the broad spectrum of what we learned, what are some of those common themes that led to the rise and fall of those civilizations? Okay, this one we're going to revisit. So there's no content from the AP or the AMSCO that's going to be on the midterm. We've got the practice test going on for that. But there are the 3 AP historical reasoning processes, like causation, comparison, and then change and continuity over time. Understanding those and how they work makes you understand how the essays are going to be formed. So the DBQs, the LEQs, the SAQs, right? Those are all formulated in those reasoning processes. So you really want to have a good understanding of how those things work. And so I'm going to assess you again on, can you understand, can you list and explain those 3 AP historical reasoning skills or processes? And those are found on page 23. Okay, that's XX3I in AMSCO. So in the introduction, it's page 23, but it's listed in Roman numerals there. Then this is probably, if this one gets on there, this is the easiest question of all. What are the 4 types of AP questions? MCQ, LEQ, DBQ, and SAQ. I would ask that you're able to provide a brief description of those 4 different types of questions. So that would be something that's pretty simple. If that one shows up there, you should automatically get that one right because you've practiced all of them except for the LEQ, which is just it's a long essay without documents. That's basically what it is. Okay, next, this would be more of an essay type question, right? The comparison of major civilizations. Can you compare Egypt to Sumer? Can you compare Greece and Rome? Can you compare all 4? Can you compare the Aztec to the Byzantines? Can you compare the Russians to England? Can you compare the Franks to the Turks, right? So thinking about how you can lump all of those different civilizations together. This will also be helpful in getting ready for the categorization, knowing that the categorization is going to be predicated on key civilizations as your category. So that'd be something to look into also. Finally, major contributions of key civilizations. When you're thinking about this, this would be more predicated on an extended response or an essay. You know, if you're thinking about Sumer, like what did they contribute to society? Oh, a lot, right? The wheel, the sail, the plow, cuneiform. They're the first to invent bronze, right? And so how did those things shape our world? And how did we get from that point in early history to where we are today? So those are some of the key things that I think would be really pertinent to study, to focus on, and make sure that you're getting ready with. Okay, on to the categorization. Remember, the categorization has 50 items. Those could be key terms. Those could be key people. Those could be key places. Those could be key concepts, right? Not all of them are going to be on your review sheet. So it's going to be something that you can take from studying your notes, getting yourself ready in that fashion, so on and so forth. But thinking about the categorization, one of the key things that I think is important is I did cut it down to 16 categories. So I took one category away. So we're down to 16 categories. And I'm going to give you 5 of the categories right now. I'm going to list off 5 of the key categories right now so you can copy these down and you'll have a pretty good understanding of, hey, if these are 5 of the categories, then I can kind of get an understanding of what the other categories will be. First off, you've got Africa. When we talk about Africa, it's a continent, right? But really we focused on sub-Saharan Africa in chapter 15. We did have a little bit of the Maghreb region in Northwest Africa up near Morocco. So you got to be able to separate Africa and the different terms and people and places from Egypt. Egypt is within Africa, but Egypt is its own category. Okay, Egypt is its own category. So I picked these 2 to go over with you today because they're the 2 that, you know, there could be some blurred lines. So if it says pyramids, that wouldn't be Africa, that'd be Egypt in this case. Okay. So if it's strictly from Egypt, then you want to categorize it into that category. If it's outside of Egypt, but within Africa, then that would go to Africa. For example, like Great Zimbabwe. Okay, that would go into the Africa category. The Maya. Maya is another category on there. Now, if the Maya are on there, will the Inca and the Aztec be on there? Most likely. So you got to start thinking in that fashion if you really want to understand what the categories will be. Mongols. All right, so the Mongols were a big part of what we learned about. They were in several chapters. They were in chapter 11 and they were in chapter 12. We know in the AP world, they're huge. So there will be some things about the Mongols, mostly on the categorization, but they are on your review sheet as well. So you could have some questions about them within the regular multiple choice matching true and false as well. One of the other big ones that I hope you didn't forget about from chapter 11, the Byzantine Empire. All right, the Byzantine Empire is also going to be one that will be assessed fairly heavily, and you'll get to look into that. And remember, you've got Justinian, you've got the Justinian Code, you have the different faction of Christianity, which is Orthodox or Byzantine Christianity. So those are some things that you want to start thinking about, getting yourself ready for the exam. I think tomorrow is going to be a pretty big day for a lot of you. Obviously, getting your final preparations done, especially if you're in my second hour. And then if you're in my third hour or fifth hour, you're up on Tuesday. So you want to be making sure that you are getting yourself ready. Tomorrow by 9 p.m., I am expecting that you're ready to rock and roll. You know what I mean? Because I know you have other tests throughout the week. So I'm expecting second hour to be extremely ready. And then third and fifth, I'm expecting you to be ready too. So start thinking about, after you go through your preparations, making your final moves, start thinking about what type of questions you want to have answered tomorrow and bring those questions to me. I'll also put up another question stream on the Realm of History Instagram. And so I'll start checking those. So I'll post that tonight. So if you want to get some of those questions out of the way there, but I will be live, and tomorrow I'll stay on as long as needed. Tomorrow's session will be at 9 p.m. Okay, that'll be mostly a question and answer session. I'm not going to be leading much tomorrow. I wanted to get my lead review out tonight so that you can utilize it to study if you were studying tomorrow morning. So I'm keeping this short. I'm pretty much done. I'm not going to answer questions tonight. I know that many of you probably have things to do, and this will be recorded. But tomorrow night, 9 p.m., we'll have one of our longer question and answer sessions to get anything that you're worried about or stressed about out of the way. Okay, I'm going to take a really quick look just to make sure there's nothing glaring. All right, some of the questions that I see here, I'll work those bad boys into tomorrow's live review. So I see some questions. I'll work them into tomorrow. I won't forget. Those will be like my first answers. Okay. So I do see them, and I will take them into account. But for right now, I want to let you guys go for the night, and I'm going to head out, and we'll see you tomorrow for live review. For the timeline, the 10 points, I'm just going to take them off. There just won't be any points there. The AP practice will be good. You need to get that done by tomorrow at noon. I checked. It said tomorrow at noon is when you have to go. But I'm not too familiar with AP Classroom as far as running those online tests. So I think you should get it done today, tonight, to make sure you're safe. Okay. All right. Ballers, I want you to have a great night. Didn't want to take up too much of your time, but I want to make sure that you understand that tomorrow I'll answer all of your questions for sure, and I'll open up a thread of questions on the Realm of History Instagram. Have a great night. Get some relaxation and study hard.